It was to the sweet and loving god Balder that the earth owed its warmth and beauty, its rich fruit and its rare harvests. How the frost giants hated Balder, and how they struggled year after year to wrest the earth from him. They hated the warmth Balder brought with him, for it destroyed their power. They hated the sweet flowers and the soft grass and the tiny leaves that everywhere peeped out when the winds whispered, "Balder is coming, Balder is coming." But no sooner had Balder turned away and said, "Goodbye, dear earth, for a little time. Remember, Balder loves you and will come back again to you," then the frost giants would creep out from their mountain gorges and burst forth upon the fields and forests. The tiny bubbling brooks they would seal with their cruel chains of ice. Even the great rivers could not hold their freedom against the giant power. Like angry fiends, they would seize upon the leaves and tear them from the trees. The tiny flowers hung their heads and shriveled with fear when they approached. Nor were the frost giants content until the whole earth lay brown and cold and barren beneath their hand. Then all beauty swept away. They covered over all their silent sheet of snow and stood grim sentinels, cold and hard, guarding their work of destruction and desolation. There was deep silence when the frost giants reigned. No sound was heard save the sad moaning among the branches of the forest, as the firs and pine trees bent towards each other and whispered of the days when Balder shone upon them. But the frost giants never yet had conquered. Never yet had Balder failed to return to the trees and flowers and rivers and streams that he loved so well. At his first step upon the ice, a crackling sound was heard, a sound which awoke the sleeping earth and warned the frost giants to flee to their mountains. "Balder has come! Balder has come!" the birds and every living thing would cry, and a rustle and sound of music would thrill the waiting earth. Then came always a mighty battle. The frost giants lashed the waters and rocked the trees. The winds shrieked. The sky grew cold and black. The snows fell and the driving rain beat against the earth. But Balder, the quiet, firm, loving Balder, always conquered. How, he himself could hardly tell. He did not fight, he did not storm. He only bent his shining face over the struggling earth and waited. Little by little, when their fury was spent, the frost giants, defiant but conquered, retreated. The great sheets of ice broke up, and the rivers rushed forth, singing their mad songs of joy and freedom. The snows faded away, and one by one the little flowers peeped forth again. All now was happiness and warmth and fragrance. The flowers bloomed. The fruits turned mellow. The sky grew warm, and the pines and fir trees breathed deep sighs of rest and contentment, that once again sweet Baldur was among them. And not only did the frost giants hate Baldur, but they hated Froi, who often robbed them of the fruits and flowers they loved to breathe their bitter breath upon and kill. Thor too they hated for his magic hammer Mjolnir. He now more than ever loved to bring forth the lightnings and the thunder, and to send down upon the earth refreshing showers of soft, warm rain. As the frost giants scowled from their icy castles, they saw the little flowers turn up their happy faces to drink in the sparkling drops, and heard the birds trill their happy songs and smelled the rich fragrance of the damp firs and pines. They roared with anger and vexation. "Let us revenge ourselves upon this insolent Thor who robs us of our rights." They bellowed to each other across the great valleys that separated their giant peaks. "We can do nothing as long as he holds the Mjolnir," growled one. "We must steal the hammer from him," shouted another. "Steal the hammer, steal the hammer," shouted all the giants until the very skies echoed with the words. "And I will be the one to steal it," bellowed Thrym, the strongest and greatest giant of them all. "And moreover, I will go at once to the city of Osgod. The gods are asleep. With my great eye I can see even now the hammer lying beside the sleeping Thor. Guard my castle, I am gone." And putting on the guise of a great bird, Thrym spread his wings and flew across the black night to Osgod. The gods shivered in their sleep as he entered and breathed his breath upon the summer air of heaven, but knew not what had chilled them. In the morning there was a heavy frost upon the gateways. There was a chill in the air, for Thrym, the frost giant, had crept in upon them. He had crept even to the hall in which the mighty Thor was sleeping. He had crept close beside the mighty god, and the magic hammer was gone. My hammer," thundered Thor, awaking and finding it gone. The gods in all Osgard awoke with a start. "What a crash of thunder, so quick, so sharp," cried the earth people, for they did not know it was a cry of rage from Thor. "Loki," thundered Thor again, "put on your wings. Go to the home of the frost giants and bring back my hammer. Some one of them has stolen it. Go, go, I say." And Loki, who had been a very obedient servant to Thor since his theft of the golden hair of Sif, put on the magic wings and fled away. "What brings you here in the land of the frost giants?" growled Thrym as Loki alighted before him. "I have come for the hammer you have stolen from Thor," answered Loki boldly, seeing at once from the jeering look in Thrym's eye that he was the thief. "You will never find it," sneered Thrym. "It is well hidden, but I will send it back to you if Odin will send me Freyja for my wife." Loki begged and coaxed and threatened, but it was all of no avail. "Never," bellowed Thrym, "until you send Freya to me." "She shall go," thundered Thor when Loki came back to Asgard. "Whatever the price, the hammer must be brought back. Asgard is not safe without it." But Freya was as fierce as had been Thrym himself. "I will not go," she insisted. "Never, never will I go." "I say you must," thundered Thor. But although Thor's thunders were terrible and his frown was deep and inky black, Freya was not to be moved either by pleading or threatening. "Go yourself," said she. "Dress yourself as a goddess and go." Nor would she listen even to another word. Thor thundered and rumbled and rolled. It was all of no avail. Freya was a goddess and would not be driven. "I will go," said Thor at last. "Bring me a bridal dress. Hang a necklace around my neck. Bind a bridal veil about my head. The giants are as stupid as they are large, and I will set forth in the name of Freya to meet the giant Thrym." Thor was quickly dressed, and the bridal party set forth across the sky in a chariot of the sun god. How the thunder rolled, how the lightnings flashed from the angry eyes of Thor, how he grumbled and rumbled. Jotunheim was reached. The sun god lowered his chariot behind the hills, and a soft red light spread over the earth and sky as the bridal party entered the castle of the giant Thrym. "Freya has come, Freya has come," bellowed Thrym. "Come, come, everyone, to the bridal feast. Come to the feast of Thrym and Freya." The giants in all the mountains round about answered to the call of Thrym. An hour and the huge castle was filled with the huge guests. A great feast was held, but through it all Thor sat silent and motionless. Indeed, he dared not move, he dared not speak lest the thunder burst forth from his lips, or the lightning shoot forth from his eyes. "Now lift the veil from Freya's face," bellowed Thrym, when all save the bride herself had eaten and drank their fill. "Let me see the eyes of my bride. Let us all look upon the face of my goddess bride." "Not yet," whispered Loki, coming forward. It was the command of Thor that the veil should not be lifted, nor should you claim Freya for your own, until the hammer was placed in her hand to be returned to the gods. "Bring in the hammer, bring the Mjolnir," roared Thrym, full of loud good humour. The hammer was brought. Hardly could Thor wait to have it placed in his hand. His thunder began to rumble. There was a dangerous light in his eyes, but Thrym and the guests saw none of this. But hardly was the hammer within his reach when Thor sprang forth, seized it in his clutched fingers, tore aside the bridal veil, and with a rumble and a roar that shook the mountains of Jotunheim and razed the great stone castles to the ground, he poured out his lightnings upon the giants, one and all. Right and left he swung the mighty weapon. The giants quaked and trembled with terror. Thrym ran and hid himself behind a mountain. The air was white with lightning. The hills rang with the crashings of the thunder. The seas lashed and foamed and answered back the echoes. The walls of Jotunheim shook and trembled. And now the chariot of the sun god was near at hand. Into it Thor and Loki leaped, and were borne back to the city of the gods. The hammer was restored. Again, Thor held it in his mighty grasp. He held it, and Asgard once more was safe.